In my last video, the last time we talked, the conversation was about heaven and hell. And I encouraged you to consider them as present states of being that we choose. We are always, I believe, either in heaven or in hell. Heaven is when we live from a perspective that there is a God and that this world was designed by God for our pleasure and participation. And that when we align our thoughts and our actions and our relationships with God's intention, well then we reside in heaven. And so what that mostly means is it means we mostly live as people in the kingdom of heaven. And that heaven is actually the default state of being that materializes when we're just being in the flow of our lives. Like, I'll give you an example. Like when my wife gets up every morning and she empties the dishwasher and she prepares my son's breakfast and lunch. And I hear her in the kitchen. And I know that irrespective of what's flipping and fluttering through her mind, she's in heaven. Because heaven is not a thought, heaven is an action. And the actions we participate in when we are in heaven then form and they orient our thoughts towards things that are godly. And so I imagine that because my wife is in there doing an action in the service of a person she loves, her son, then she's also thinking about him. And what we do then forms our thinking, right? And then our thinking becomes actions of prayer towards the thing we're thinking about. You see, thoughts follow actions, as do feelings, which is why then we should be careful with them and hold them carefully. Right? That's why if we flip on the radio first thing in the morning or turn on the TV news, those things we put in front of our mind can instantly toss us out of heaven. Because, we're going to hell now, because hell materializes when we put ourselves in a situation where our will is frustrated by our inability to have impact on things that we falsely believe that we should be able to control. And when we fall from a godly orientation to a self-centered orientation. We move from the kingdom of God to the kingdom of me. And as we seek to be the king, inevitably we find a world not enthusiastic about me being in charge of all things, and thus conflict arises, and in this conflict the fires of hell flare. Hell's a real place, right? It happens, we know for sure, when our blood is boiling over. Now don't get me wrong. We should have righteous indignation about things beyond our control. And my hope is that this righteous indignation stems from our knowledge of how the kingdom of God is designed to be, and our desire for all people to be allowed to live in the good flow of God's creation. Right? So war and slavery and the like represent the clash of kingdoms that do not put God's kingdom first. And so we seek both to understand the kingdom of God and understand how it is violated by human actions and habits and self-centeredness. That's what we do here in this parish. We seek to understand the broken world and how it is better to be lived into by being in heaven.